Yöröget kívánok, Kucsvágy. I'll never get tired of saying that. Yöröget kívánok, Kucsvágy. Jó estét, jó napot. Kérek szépen kicsi pussy. And that means Kérek szépen kicsi pussy. It's P-U-Z-S-I or P-U-S-Z-I or something. In Hungary, pussy is a word for a kiss. So oftentimes you'd say to a little child, "Kérek szépen kicsi pussy." But anyway, I love Hungary. I love it with all my heart and all my soul. But anyway, what's on my mind today? The moral compass. The moral compass. Yesterday in my video, somebody made a comment about what's right and wrong, and I think the gist of the reply to my comment was something about what's right and wrong within the rules of society. Are they the same rules that God has for us, so to speak? And I don't want to go on a whole discussion of God today, but you know what, I like to think that one of the if not the greatest things, well, the greatest thing that God gave us was life itself. I think that life is beautiful. I think that life is mysterious, and I think that life is precious. It doesn't matter in what form, or what form or shape or what have you. I think that life in and by itself is precious. And so the greatest thing that I think that God gave us was life. I think one of the other great things that God gave us is our moral compass. And our moral compass, it's our conscience. I don't think that one needs to see rules written down on a piece of paper or what have you to be able to discern between what's right and what's wrong in life. I think that when you do something, inherently you know whether it's right or wrong. It's called a conscience, and I don't think it's all that difficult. Sometimes there's a challenge as far as discerning the direction that the moral compass is pointing to. I guess on a regular compass it points, north or south. And on a moral compass it points, good or bad, or right or wrong, I should say, maybe, right or wrong. But maybe sometimes it gets, the needle gets stuck, between the two. But more times than not, when you do something, when you do something or say something or something along those lines, whether it's right or wrong. And anyway, that's just kind of how I live my life. I let my moral compass guide me through life. But what else is on my mind? The question that's been circulating through my brain since somebody made a comment yesterday as to why I've never been married. That's the question. Why has Tom Hall never been married? I can see Todd getting on his edge of his seat right now. Todd sitting on the edge of his seat thinking, oh my God, he's going to talk about why he's never been married. But Todd, I wish I could see your facial expression on some of these videos when I call you out, such as I do. But anyway, that's not a question that I've never been asked before. I get asked that question quite a bit. When I've been on, dates and what have you, there's always that question, why have you never been married? So, you know what? I could come at that question from so many different angles, and I'll just kind of give you the canned answer that I share with people, as I go through my life. Why have I never been married? I would like to think that there's several reasons why I've never been married. One is I really didn't have a high school sweetheart to marry. I got right out of, I had such a tumultuous adolescence. I mean, you should see my high school senior picture in my yearbook. I think they took the picture the morning after one of my fake suicide attempts in high school. I had several of those. I had several. I had this period where I was going through faking these suicide attempts, if only to get attention. And anyway, but so I got out of high school. I didn't have a high school sweetheart. I got out of high school, and I joined the military. And through the military, I dated. I was stationed in Fort Ord, California, the whole time for 3 years, and dated a girl in the military. Her name was Miriam, and she looked just like Marilyn Monroe. Beautiful, beautiful girl from Springfield, Missouri, Miriam Leshak, and she was studying French. Parlez-vous français? She was studying French at the Defense Language Institute in Monterey. Those were 3 of the most challenging but most fun years of my life. But anyway, I got out of the military in all of my 20s. I didn't have a leg to stand on, let alone a pot to piss in. All of my 20s. I must have worked, I didn't have a college education. I must have worked 10 different jobs. I must have lived in 15 different places, renting a room here, renting an apartment there, renting, just 15 different places, sleeping out of my car. I would sleep out of my car. And so that lasted through most of my 20s. And, as far as finding somebody to to date, let alone marry me, in my 20s, I mean, that was a bit of a stretch, to think that I could do that. So my 20s went by, and I dated during my 20s. I had my share of relationships for sure. But my 20s went by, and then my 30s came along. And my 30s came along, and I was so into, I still didn't have much of a pot to piss in or a leg to stand on, but I got a job. I got a real job working for Wells Fargo. And I was making money back then. I was making $30,000 a year. And to me, that was big bucks. And I was making money, and they were giving me vacation time and what have you. And my 30s were spent doing going to school. I was just engulfed in school and and traveling. I was traveling every summer. I was traveling for the better part of anywhere from a month to 3 months, all across Europe. I was traveling. And again, during my 30s, I didn't have much of a pot to piss in, and I've always been a traditional guy in the sense of the word that, I feel that if I'm going to get married to somebody, I've got to be, responsible for, for them, and I need to be able to provide and all that type of stuff. So there, my 30s came and went, and toward the end of my 30s, I fell in love with a girl from Budapest. Well, she was from Kecskemét, to be honest. Kecskemét is a town south of Budapest. I fell in love with Nori, and she's still on my face. She's one of my Facebook friends, and I love her to death. And Nori, fell in love with Nori, and I stayed there for 3 years. But it was interesting. Through my 20s and my 30s, I had my heart broken more times than I could imagine. And somewhere in the transition from my 30s to my 40s, I became the heartbreaker instead of the heartbreakee. In my 40s, I had some the relationship with Nori didn't work out because she didn't want to move to America, and I didn't want to live in Eastern Europe for the rest of my life. So that relationship ended, and then the other relationships that I had in my 40s, they didn't last, more so due to circumstances than anything else. I dated a wonderful woman from Mexico, and beautiful lady. And oftentimes when I say a beautiful lady, I'm not implying to the physical aspect or nature of them, more so the beauty of the inside. But dated a wonderful woman from Mexico, and an absolutely beautiful woman from Chile, and more so out of circumstances. Those relationships didn't last, and so now here I find myself at the age of 50. Sometimes I have to think. I always have to do this. 1963, and so 63, and you take 17, and I guess I'm going on 54. I have to run the numbers in my head to remember what age I'm at. But anyway, so here I am going on 54, and I've never been married. And you know what? For the most part, I'm okay with that. I say for the most part because I would be lying if I didn't say that I don't want to fall in love. I don't want I want some woman to just sweep me off my feet. And when it comes to love, I don't think that you go looking for love. I think love ultimately finds you. And to go through life making a concerted effort to find love, I think that's the wrong approach. I think rather, though, you just have to realize that love will ultimately find you, and you need to be open to it. You need to be open to finding love. You can't close your heart. Oftentimes, people, will go through so many challenges in life that they'll put up a wall around themselves, and or they'll harden their heart, and they won't be open to being loved and to love. So anyway, that's part of the reason that I've never been married. Now, if you look at it from another angle, let me share this thought with you. Of all the people getting married around the world this coming Saturday, or this Friday, or this Sunday, it doesn't matter. Of all the people in the world getting married today, okay? It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. But of all the people getting married in the world on any given day, that's a better way of putting it, more than half of those relationships are going to end in divorce. It's a statistical fact. Regardless of where you live in the world, more than half of all marriages are going to end in a divorce. Of all of the marriages that do not end in divorce, of all of them that survive, statistically, half of those are not happy. They're not happy being in the marriage. So when you look at the numbers of being married and finding happiness, you really have about a 20 to 25% chance that you're going to be happy. And if I gave somebody $1,000 and I stood them in front of a casino, and I said, here's $1,000. If you have two choices. You can sit here and keep the $1,000 in your pocket and go down the street and buy yourself a Starbucks. Or you can go into the casino, and there's a 75% chance you're going to come out with nothing. What are you going to do? If I looked at those odds and I thought, 75% chance I'm going to come out of that casino with nothing, well, I'm not going to go in and gamble. I'm going to go down and get myself a non-fat extra shot grande cappuccino with 2 sweetened those. that's what I'm going to do. But anyway, so there's the realism. There's the realism of or the numbers, as far as getting married. And a lot of people will say, "Gee, that's a negative outlook," and it's not a negative outlook. It's a realistic outlook that you've got about a 25% chance of being married. Right now, there's somebody watching this video. I guarantee you, there's somebody watching this video that's in a marriage that's thinking, damn, he's right. That every night they got to crawl into bed with that person, or maybe they have separate beds, but every night, every morning they got to wake up and look at that person, and every night before they go to bed they got to look at that person, and they're thinking, what the hell was I thinking? And they get trapped. They get trapped because they've got kids. People that the 50% of marriages that survive, most of them are in the relationship because of financial reasons, or because of they're doing it for the children, or something along those lines. So now when I think about getting married, I want to make sure that I get it right, and find somebody that I'll be happy with for the rest of my life. So that's that. Now the final reason, and if I'm completely honest with myself, it would I would have to look back on the relationship that I had with my mother as an adolescent. The relationship that I had with my mother as an adolescent was tumultuous. It was a terrible, terrible, terrible relationship that I had with my mother. And looking back, much of that, if not all of it, I pretty much have to blame on myself. I was a hellraiser when I was a little kid. I didn't like being told what to do. I don't think a lot of teenagers do. I think teenagers go through this rebellious period. Well, I went through a rebellious period where I didn't like being told what to do. And my mother and I, we went at it like there was no tomorrow. And I think that that period of time in my life, and the relationship that I had with my mother at that time in my life, I think that went a long way into defining my perception of women, perhaps. I've been in relationships, and most, if not all of the women that I've dated in my lifetime, you ask them if I treated them well, if I was a nice guy, and I do. When I'm in a relationship with a woman, I'm faithful. First and foremost, I'm faithful, and I try to be kind, and I try to be compassionate, and caring. So I never, I've never found myself in a relationship where I'm verbally abusive or physically abusive. But anyway, going back to my mother and that relationship that I had with her, I got to ask myself how that affected me over the course of my lifetime. And one thing I cannot stand, even to this day, is being told what to do. I hate it. I hate somebody telling me, what to do. Don't wear those shoes, or don't, do this, or don't do that, or whatever. I just want to be my own person and do what I want, when I want, and how I want. And I don't want somebody in my life, telling me, I got to do this, or I can't do that, or what have you. It's just so when I find a partner that is willing to just live her life and let me live my life, and share a life together in doing so, that's when I'll settle down. But it's interesting that most everything that I've done in life of any significance, most of the significant moments or milestones that I've had in life, I've been late doing so. I was late getting a college degree. I finished my college degree when I was in my late 30s. I bought my first house when I was in my mid-40s. You know, so a lot of the stuff that I've done a lot of the stuff that I've done uh, in life has been later than when most people do it. So we'll see if we get married. I could still, you know, I'm 54. I could still find the woman of my dreams and move into that nice little modest house somewhere on a hill overlooking the water, preferably the ocean, and have a year-round garden and just kind of let the world go, you know, let the world go as the way it will, and just enjoy a little bit of peace, or enjoy some peace and enjoy a little bit of solitude. Not too much solitude, but a little bit. And that'll be yeah. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I'm babbling here. So I could still find that individual, or that individual could still find me, and I could still have a nice. Well, my dad's 89, so 89 would be 90, 30, 30. I could still have a 35-year marriage. You know, if you think about that, I could still have a 30 to 35-year marriage, and that's it. So anyway, I hope that clears up some of the thoughts on why I've never been married. And you know, I will say, you know, there aren't that many people that the amount of people that I envy in this world are few and far between. But you know, I look at I always joke about Todd, you know, but I think Todd's on my Facebook. I'm not sure, but now and then I see these pictures of Todd with his family and his beautiful wife and his wonderful children and what have you, and or I'll go on Facebook and I'll look at my ex, you know, Nori from Budapest, and see her little children and her husband and the happy family. And every now and then I might feel a little bit of, I don't know if it's envy. Well, maybe it is. Maybe it's a little bit of envy, but not too much. Envy is not a healthy emotion. But anyway, so I hope that clarifies why Tom has never been married. I talked to Mercedes last night, and Mercedes said she already knows why I've never been married. You know, but she wouldn't tell me why. So maybe she'll watch this video and call me on the phone and tell me the real reason why I've never been married. Why I've never been married. But anyway, enough for now. Have a great day. Take care.